I want a good boys, Bill Chris on the internet one day. Chris said to Neil, let's make a podcast, boy. Come on now, what do you think? Well, what will this podcast be about? Said Neil with a tear in his eye. We got stories that people tell each other from Louisiana Pie to the city of Mumbai. Oh, you mean urban legends. And the podcast was Urban Legends with Neil and Chris. You take care, y'all.
Welcome to Urban Legends, the internet podcast about urban legends and urban legends adjacent things such as myths. I am Studio Ghibli style woodland spirit / guardian, Chris Flynn. And with me today is a man who managed to break the bank at the Taj Mahal Casino in New Jersey, basically by getting Donald Trump to play a very high stakes game of Snap with him and beating him with every hand. It is Mr.
Neil Herbert.
Hi, Neil. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, actually. It's bloody hot, isn't it? We're in the middle of a sweltering summer here.
Got a sweltering heat wave.
It's going to get hot next week.
Lock up your daughters. So, Neil, how are you enjoying the money which you won off Mr. Trump in that game of Snap, but which you were playing £250,000 a hand, I believe?
Yep, high stakes. The only way to live.
And he's got quite slow reactions as well, hasn't he? So it's a bit like fish in a barrel.
He struggles to articulate the word snap as well.
And you
constant monologue about how he has the finest brain in Christendom.
And you managed to bankrupt his already struggling Taj Mahal casino, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, it's not his first rodeo with the bankruptcy, is it? So, but
some people say that pushed him into politics. Any regrets? You've got that Snap money, so.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, whilst I acknowledge, it was unfortunate for a great deal of people, for me personally, it's
very fortunate. Good day.
Yeah.
And is it true that the game only lasted 15 minutes?
Yes. So slightly less, actually. I mean, that was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Did you let him have a break?
That was including the time for him to monologue about how great he was at Snap, despite all the evidence to the contrary.
I'm brilliant at Snap.
I get the impression he didn't really understand the rules.
He just kept going, Snap.
Yeah, no, every time. It's not, no, clearly not.
You didn't even have to say Snap once, did you?
No,
he just kept going, Snap.
He just kept on a Snap. You know the rule of Snap that you normally don't have to put in where somebody says Snap and it clearly isn't an identical card.
Yeah, then you win the cards, yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Or Boston Snap, as we call it. Boston Rule Snap.
4 clover Snap.
Yeah.
And that was in Atlantic City, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
20 card turnaround, never been seen before.
Well, it sounds like you had a nice time. Did he put you up in a suite, or did you just sleep under the boardwalk as normal?
Yeah, it's wherever you're comfortable, isn't it? No, there's a nice, lovely boardwalk there. Why waste money on a suite?
On a suite, yeah. just slept there with like 2 duffel bags full of cash.
Yeah. Using that as a pillow.
Yeah. So hiding in plain sight.
Well, exactly, yeah. Nobody ever believed that the person like me would have stuck to the gills with dollar bills. That's how I got away with it.
Well, it's I believe that there's a documentary coming out on Netflix about it.
Let's face it, Netflix is greenlighting a lot of shite these days.
Called the $1 billion Snap heist.
Yeah. Take some liberties with the truth, but yeah, it's a literally unbelievable story. So,
did you did they pay you anything for that, or did you get any sort of producer?
Yeah, no, I'm executive producing that.
Nice.
So, I can't disclose the information.
Who's playing you in the dramatizations of the scenes?
It's Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah.
I can see it. Is it because it was Boston Snap?
Yes, exactly.
Lovely.
Yeah, I've been rewritten as an American.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not going to sell otherwise, is it?
Exactly.
Don't want some cocky Brit coming in and taking out their MAGA king.
Exactly. Just some, wise guy from Boston.
Yeah.
A wise guy would be mafia or whatever.
It could be the Irish mob.
Might be. I don't know. I've not seen the final script. Maybe they've added a few notes like that as well. He's constantly talking about deep pan pizza or something.
That's
I don't
Chicago,
know.
isn't it?
I'm trying to think Boston foods would be like Boston cream pie, I suppose.
I don't know Boston foods. Do they eat in Boston?
It's largely like a big Irish community, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of Irish
I
communities.
imagine lots of like lovely stews and things.
Yeah, Boston stew.
Yeah.
Or oysters, maybe.
Yeah.
Oysters and Guinness.
Chips, bit of roast, Irish breakfast.
Yeah.
Same as a Welsh breakfast, Scottish breakfast, and English breakfast.
Yeah, but they're
black. Have some soda files on the side.
Yeah, you got soda bread instead.
Yeah.
And potentially some bubble and squeak. Is that something you like to eat, Neil? Bubble and squeak?
I've not had it for years, to be honest. It's quite nice.
It's cabbage and eggs,
use a bit of, I've got a bit of cabbage and potato left over. Why not?
Lovely.
It's got a stupid name. That's what we like in our part of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Neil, what the hell are we talking about today?
So, we're going to be talking about the Pendle Witches. So, this area of sort of Pendle Hill.
Where is Pendle? Is it in the
Pendle's
UK?
in Lancashire. It's
okay.
So let me set the scene with.
I'd love it if you would. If you'd lay it out for me so that my mind's eye could see it.
Let me lay out this vista in your mind's eye. This is from visitlancashire.com, so it's their tourist website.
Of course, Manchester's in Lancashire, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, famously. So you've got Yorkshire and Lancashire right next door to each other.
Oh, there's a rivalry.
All
the way back to the War of the Roses.
Indeed. And now,
just in case any of our international listeners are confused what we're talking about, back in the 14th century, probably 14th century, maybe 15th, there were two families vying to be the royal family of the UK, which didn't exist at the time, so I'll just say of England. And one of them was from Yorkshire and one was from Lancaster, and they're next to each other. And to this day, they still have a rivalry based on that, which is why, say, Leeds United football team hates Manchester United and vice versa because of something that happened 700 years ago.
Yeah, well, Richard III hasn't forgotten. They buried him in that car park.
Yeah.
It was late 15th century, I think. But, actually, I remember someone telling me, I think he was from Leeds or something originally, but he was living in Brighton. He was in some, punk band.
Yeah,
Scotland.
of course.
And he said, he was slagging off Man U or something, and he's like, a Leeds fan, obviously. And War of the Roses, Neil, never forget. He literally said that. There might have been a shade of irony in his comment, but yeah.
Well, many a true word said in jest.
Exactly.
A drunk man speaks a sober man's mind.
Good. Right, excellent. So, nothing more to say about that. So, visit Lancashire.com.
Yeah.
Hashtag in Lancashire. And so, we've got a little section here called Visit Lancashire Highlights. There's a caravan park.
Nice.
There's a lounge to relax in called the Berwick.
Nice.
And some holiday flats. So it makes it sound like there's fuck all in Lancashire.
Yeah, I think that's unfair on Lancashire, to be honest.
To be honest,
this just seems like an advertorial.
Yeah, you'd be like, Manchester's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Pendle Hill. So it's most famous now for its links to the notorious witch trials of 1612. But its surrounding towns and villages are a truly bewitching area of Lancashire.
Ooh.
History and legend has woven a spell over Pendle.
God, they're using a lot of puns in that, aren't they?
Well,
it's good. No, it's nice. It's not nice use of language.
A bit of atmosphere. Pendle Hill rises above this ancient hunting ground, once the home of wolves and wild boar, and to this day dotted with tiny hamlets and farms. It is still an untamed place, full of mystery and infamous as the home of the Pendle Witches who were tried and executed for witchcraft in 1612. So they've managed in 2 paragraphs to talk about witches there.
Yeah.
But it does look very beautiful, actually. Very, a nice kind of scenic.
I don't know that any part of the UK is untamed.
Well, it's that kind of British. It was all kind of like transformed years ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's got roads and stuff and shops.
I don't know. I think it is quite
slightly remote.
Just how? Yeah, I mean,
it's a good 45 minutes to Manchester, so
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
It's a good 45 minute walk.
You can soon get somewhere, but I don't think there's like a Sainsbury's on the corner or whatever. I mean, it's hamlets and stuff, so it's out the stairs.
Little villages.
Yeah. And the Lancashire Witches. So this is 10 people executed in the moors around Lancaster, having been found guilty of witchcraft at Lancaster Castle. So we'll get into those, but I think I'm sort of skipping around articles here, Chris. I'm just looking for the there's quite a few facets, but I think what we'll start off with is an article on the Guardian that so we said 1612, so there was actually the 400th anniversary 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it's actually inspired a bunch of like novellas and stuff. Like Jeanette Woodson wrote one, and it kind of caused a bit of a. I don't know if you call them celebrations exactly. I don't know what the right term for this is. You know what I mean? But there was a kind of like a 400th anniversary, and then there was a lot of people commenting on it and stuff like this. So 2012, there's an article by Blake Morrison in the Guardian, which I'm going to start with because I think
is it in the Peak District? Because that's a national park, isn't it?
I don't think so, but I'm not. Again, my geography is terrible. I don't think it's in Peak District.
Pendleton.
Could be. Anyway.
Yeah.
In the country in Lancashire. So it began ordinarily enough. On a road near Colne in Lancashire, a woman called Alison Device met a peddler called John Law.
Alison Device.
Yeah, we've got some
she
mad
carries
names
her from Toast.
Well, there's Alison Device, and there's I can't remember if it's Agnes or Anne. There's an Alice Nutter. And there's someone who's got a really mad name. Demdike. They've all got brilliant names, actually. So yeah, Alison does. John Law's pretty good as well. He sounds John Law. He sounds like some fictional cop, doesn't he? A bit too on the nose.
Judge John Law.
This is going to be one of your Netflix series. You could do John Law, and he's just like this really corrupt cop. Just take any old bribes. Anyway, so Alison Device met a peddler called John Law and asked if he would give her some pins. Perhaps she was offering to buy them. More likely, some pins. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, you know what witch will get up to with some pins, Chris?
Yeah, she'll be sticking it in a poppet, won't she?
Oh, good.
Oh, no.
But more likely being poor, she was begging.
Right.
Whichever, the peddler refused to undo his pack for her, and she cursed him. The two-parted company continued on their way. So that's ordinary, apparently, but it gets less ordinary now. So immediately afterwards, though, just a few hundred yards down the road, the peddler collapsed with a stroke that paralysed him down the left side and left him unable to speak. He was taken to an alehouse from where a letter was dispatched to his son.
Yeah, well, that's why you take people who've had a stroke.
To be fair, in those days, I mean, I know we were joking about that guy. We went straight down the pub after
get him a brandy.
Get him down a boozer. Get teachers down his neck. In those days, like if you were travellers, I think it would have been like waypoints and stuff. So like if you were travelling, like the alehouse would have been where you would have gone for a bed for the night or a meal or probably anything else. So short of like taking into a private house, it probably would be the sensible place to take them, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's fetch your son, and by the time the son arrived, the peddler's speech had recovered sufficiently for him to describe how he'd been bewitched. Son tracked
I've been bewitched. I do declare.
So the son tracked Alison down and brought her to his father. I don't know how he's managed to find her, but anyway.
Well, she's just begging on the street. She's probably
that's true.
Got a spot
out there begging for pins. You'll find her on the junction, trying to get a free pin.
Not coins, pins.
Yeah. What's she want a pin for? Doesn't sound good.
She's trying to start up a dressmaking shop. Next thing, beg for some cloth, then beg for some scissors.
Yeah, well, that sounds
give a man a coin and he can feed himself for a day. Give a seamstress some pins and some cloth and scissors eventually, and she can feed herself and her community.
A staff
for a lifetime. Just get
several hundred yards of good cloth.
Yeah, a
distribution network, and she could feed herself for a lifetime. Yeah, it's very true. I think there's a pithier version of that somewhere, but I can't remember what it is.
I believe that's how Versace started.
Yeah.
Begging for pins on the streets of Milano or something.
Yeah. That's why he's the king of fashion, because he's gone right from the bottom all the way to the top.
Well, and I don't know, the listeners can't see this, but you were always dressed head to toe in Versace, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Got your Versace cap on, back to front cap. With your Versace bandana underneath.
Yeah. My
Versace handbag.
My Versace jean shorts.
Your Versace thigh-high boots.
Yeah. My Versace sandals with Versace socks. And I have tried to see me several times to get me to stop wearing Versace. But...
Yeah. You tanked the share price, didn't you?
Yeah, several times.
That's why you're not on social media.
Kind of the opposite of a model. In many ways, I'm a bit like a witch myself. I managed to curse that brand. I live my life the way I see fit.
Well, if you don't want people wearing it, don't sell it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've got all that pod money coming in, filling your pockets. Go out and buy all the Versace you want.
Exactly. Don't you worry, I'll do that. So she begs forgiveness to the father, but he was unappeased, and the son reported her to a local magistrate, Roger Now, a very religious, honest gentleman, who set about interrogating her.
Goes hand in hand.
Absolutely. Only the finest of people. I mean, this is the funny thing, because there's a whole kind of... I was unsure at the start whether to make this about the kind of... Because there's kind of the urban legend of the Pendle Hill itself, because it's kind of like regarded as a bit of an area that's a bit spooky and stuff, but there aren't that many tales. But one of the ones 40 years after these witch trials, I think his name was George Ford, but basically the bloke who invented the Quakers, he climbed up Pendle Hill, had a vision from God, and then decided to form the Quakers.
We're having a little look here at Pendle, so it's quite close. It's close to Burnley and Blackburn. It's just north of them.
Okay.
And they've got a ski club up on the Pendle Hill. They've got one of those artificial ski slopes there.
Yeah, we go down like the plastic runs.
Yeah, so that's nice, isn't it?
Fun. That's all right.
Yeah, and to be fair, literally less than a kilometre from Pendle's is a McDonald's, so I'm not sure how untamed it is, but in Barrow,
it's everywhere, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I think whatever. Anyway, so at this point, the story becomes stranger. Alison not only admitted having bewitched a peddler with the help of a black dog, which had offered to lame him, she also recalled how her grandmother, known as Dendyke, had initiated her into the malefic arts.
The malefic arts.
The malefic arts is, being a witch. As now pressed, increasingly lurid tales came out of how the black dog had first appeared to Alison and did with his mouth suck at her breast a little below the paps, which did remain blue half a year.
What, who did?
The black dog.
Oh, right, so she was suckling a black dog.
Yeah, she had that.
That's
fair
dog, enough.
Have a little...
well, why not?
Suck. milk turned sour and cows falling sick and children bewitched to death. And then there's this enmity between...
Bewitched to death.
Yes.
Oh, it's so bewitching.
I just keep making them watch that sitcom. Wasn't Larry Hagman in that Bewitched?
I've not really seen much of it.
Yeah, I can't remember. I feel like they changed the husband halfway through or something. Anyway, I can't really remember. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and there seems to be this enmity between these two families. So there's the Demdikes and the Chattoxes.
Right.
So the enmity between Demdike and her deformed daughter Elizabeth, and a neighbour called Anne Whittle (brackets Shattox). I don't know why they call the Demdikes and the Chattoxes, because none of them seem to have that surname. But whatever. And her daughter, all of whom were witches living in Pendle Forest. So there's a lot of witchery going on between these two families, apparently. After further interviews, now sent all 4 of these women to await trial in Lancaster, leaving Elizabeth at her home, Malkin Tower. The thing about Malkin Tower, Chris, it's basically a cottage.
Okay.
But on Good Friday, they stole a sheep from a local farmer and had a few boozes.
Yeah.
Elizabeth and her mates, and the neighbours conceived the plan of travelling 40 miles to Lancaster, blowing up the jail and freeing the Pendle Four.
Right, what were they doing with the sheep? Do they eat it or something?
Yeah, they stole it from a farmer. And they're like, well, I quite fancy a bit of roast lamb this Sunday. So, well, where are we going to get that? Yeah. There's no Tesco's. This is Pendle. Even 400 years fence, the nearest thing's going to be a McDonald's about a mile away. Well, how would you know that? And I said, well, precognition because I'm a witch.
Yeah. But I saw it in this sheep's entrails.
Yeah, but we'll just steal that lamb from the local farmer. That'll be fun. So, probably not good neighbours.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
Now, apparently it's unlikely that they've acted on the plan, but now, hearing word of it, was taking no chances, and 15 more men and women were charged and sent for trial. It doesn't say how he found out about it, so they must have gotten really pissed and stuff.
Yeah, go, let's come blow up the jail.
Blow that gun.
Come on. Where are we going to get dynamite from? It's 1620 or whatever. Yeah. I'm I mean, gunpowder was around, but it would have been hard to get your hands on, wouldn't
it? You could potentially fashion it. So,
well, I mean,
what is it? It's like
saltpeter.
Saltpeter you'd have used for curing meat, so that potentially might have been available.
What, saltpeter?
Yeah,
for curing meat.
Yeah, that's one of its main uses. You can
buy it. You need some guano.
No, is it carbon, saltpeter, and sulfur
for the nitrogen? Don't you need nitrogen?
No, it's 3. Gunpowder is sulfur, saltpeter, and carbon.
Okay.
The carbon's just coal you ground down.
Yeah.
Sulfur you can probably get hold of. And
yeah, it's easy, isn't it? Just go
saltpeter.
Go down to McDonald's, get your salt, get your sulfur nuggets.
I don't know, but this was after the the gunpowder plot. So, but yeah, it wouldn't be that easy to get hold of. But I think
after the gunpowder plot?
Yeah, gunpowder plot was.
I think it's before.
It was 1612. This is well after the gunpowder plot. Right, let's have a look.
I'm having a look now. You carry on. Oh, 1605.
Yeah, there you go, 7 years before. I thought it was earlier than that. It would have been James I.
But gunpowder would very much have been in vogue.
Yeah. So nobody would.
It would have been the hot ticket. It would have been the bubble tea.
Everyone would have wanted some.
The bubba tea or whatever they call it of the time.
Kids cried at Christmas if they didn't get some gunpowder.
Have you ever had any of that bubble tea, Neil?
No, I haven't. I keep hearing about it. What is it?
Don't know.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure. I mean, it's tea which has bubbles filled with liquid in it, I think. Like you used to get for baths, like the bubbles and had oil in. No, not jacuzzis. You used to get like little balls which were filled with like oil, and you put them in the bath and the coating would dissolve, and then you get the nice oils in the bath to make your skin all nice from Body Shop or something.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I've never had it. I've never even seen a shop where they sell it. To be honest.
Oh yeah, you can get it in the North Lanes.
Obviously, not going to the right places, but
or you are going to the right places.
Yeah, well, one or the other.
I don't know. People enjoy it.
That's fine. Well, to be honest, I might like it if I tried it. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to go out of my way to do something. Yeah. So, right, where were we? Yeah, I mean, whether they would have been able to get
gunpowder
who knows? But
is trending.
Yeah, it's trending now. It's getting loads of tweets about gunpowder.
Yeah, hashtag gunpowder.
Hashtag Pendle. Team Pendle. Hashtag Team Now. So the trials took place over 2 days, with the jury asked to consider a variety of offences, including murder and cannibalism.
Right.
Crucial to the proceedings was the testimony.
Based on what?
Well, you'll find out. Crucial to the proceedings was the testimony of 9-year-old Janet Device.
Children, the most reliable witnesses.
Witnesses, yeah, as we know from Satanic Panics and all that. They will give you good evidence.
And just asking a child anything, they just love a lie.
So, whose mother Elizabeth, outrageously cursing against the child in a fearful manner, had to be taken away before the evidence could be heard. So basically, when the little kid starts grassing her mum up, she starts screaming and cursing her.
Grassing her own mum up?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
So standing on a table in front of the court, Janet testified against her mother, brother and grandmother, along with others who gathered at Malcolm Tower. So the judge discounted the evidence of an older child witness against 3 other alleged witnesses. But Janet's modesty and innocence were taken to guarantee her reliability. The court was impressed. So, as a result, 10 of the accused were found guilty and hanged at Moor of Lancashire.
Good.
So, justice was served, Chris. Don't worry about it. I know you were worried about that.
I was worried. I thought that maybe in 1612 that the loony left might have been in charge, but thankfully, someone had the common sense to hang them all based on
not on the words of a small child. It's clearly compelling evidence. No, it's kind of family values we need to get back to, quite frankly.
100%.
Yeah, bring back the 17th century for so many reasons. So Demdike had already died during her 4 months in prison. Although it pleased God out of his mercy to spare you at this time, Justice Bromley told those who were acquitted, yet without question there are those among you that are as deep in this action as any of them that are condemned to die. So even the ones that, got out of it, he was like,
You got lucky this time.
Yeah, you got lucky this time, but I'll see you hanging.
My hands were tied by the fucking law, but I've got my eye on you.
Yeah. He was a good cop. He played by the rules, but he will, So that's the problem, What are you prepared to do, Chris? As a witch finder general.
Yeah.
If you know that the witness is definitely a witch, are you gonna fake the evidence if you have to?
I'd be planting evidence left, right, and centre. To be honest, because some doing something bad is sometimes the lesser of the two evils when you're actually dealing with evil.
The problem as well with having to, your clearance rates on made up crimes tend to be very low if you're dealing with them in an orthodox fashion, Yeah. So you've got to rely on the testimony of 9-year-olds or plant evidence, whatever's going to get you through and get your clearance rates up.
Yeah,
otherwise, you're never bust down on the witch crisis that's happening throughout.
I've always considered the kind of law to be more of a guide, really, rather than kind of a hard and fast thing.
Yeah, it's just
yeah. So no, it's a methodology
for those without the imagination to go their own way, really, isn't it? If you're a bit of a plodder, if you're a bit pedestrian, then by all means, stick to the law. That gives you comfort.
Yeah,
you know what you're doing. But for those of us who
those of us who actually care about humanity and people's souls, then sometimes you've got to get a little creative.
Can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs.
Yeah.
Right. So many.
You say that every episode.
I know, it's one of my endearing phrases. No, can't do it. That didn't cry. I do like a good cliche.
Don't Hate the player, hate the game. That's another one.
That's another one that's constantly repeated. You will. So there are similar witch trials. Mind you, no, I can't really pin on you, I don't think. You did try and have a, I don't know, what was your words to be buried by? I can't remember now.
Oh, but the soil is fertile here.
Oh, yeah.
The soil is fertile here.
Can't believe you remember that.
Of course I do. It's my catchphrase.
Yeah.
I use it all the time when I'm at the shops.
Yeah.
You know, they go, can I pay by cards? Yeah, that's fine.
Beggars for pins.
The soil is fertile here. Beep. Thanks very much. Ta-ta. Good day. I'm not allowed in a lot of the shops anymore.
Are you not?
No.
I just get annoyed with you constantly saying things that make sense.
Yeah, I know. Fucking, don't know what's wrong with them.
Is it that and the lack of clothing?
It's that, the lack of clothing. Look, at the end of the day, I'm trying to inject some fun into quite a miserable time in our country. And, people are a bit sniffy about it. So it's up to them. I'm not harming anyone, am I? Apart from the people I harm.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the same group of people.
No, I mean, you could argue that, it's your fun at the expense of them giving them misery, but...
Well, yeah, but I mean, a lot of the stuff they do brings me misery. So,
don't like it, maybe don't run a shop.
Exactly. A line drawn in the sand, mate.
Yeah. So you're saying there's quite a few witch trials took place in Europe, America before and after 1612, and in fact there was a second case in Pendle in 1634, so 22 years later, when the adult Janet Device, so the kid who, she would have been 31 at this point, who grasped up her mum and got her convicted.
You think she regretted it?
Accused of being a witch on the face of the child.
Gutted.
Although she and her companions were acquitted. So they don't just it's proper trial here, Chris. They don't just accuse when they get
No, so they were acquitted.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. See, system works.
The system does work. So there were quite a few witches put to death before the law against witchcraft was finally repealed in 1736. But the Lancaster case remains the most notorious because of the number involved.
So it's 15 people that they killed up then?
Yeah, I think that's right. 10 were found guilty. So
5.
People play fast and loose with the figures. Some people say 27, but it's 10. So there were 4 originally, and then I think there were 19 accused, and 10 of those.
J'accuse.
Accused of victory. So the Pendle Witches didn't conform to modern stereotypes. So spells were cast, clay images pricked with pins, and supernumerary nipples or warts, the mark of the devil diligently searched for. But there were no broomsticks, steaming cauldrons, pointed hats.
If you've got a third nipple, then that means you've been cavorting with the devil.
Yeah.
The devil.
He's a kinky fellow, the devil, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's a big fan of, is it Blade Runner? Oh, no, Total Recall. That's it.
Oh, right, I was going to say.
He's a big fan of Total Recall.
Trying to figure out how Blade Runner ties into that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's mainly because of the three-breasted prostitute.
That's exactly it, yeah. The superfluous nipple.
I mean, he's a fan of Arnie, but,
He is, the devil and Arnie like that.
Yeah. Careers have peaks and troughs, in the devil's opinion.
Well, he got him into the Senate, didn't he, of course?
Yeah.
Governor of California, most batshit fucking... They love putting ex-actors in charge, don't they?
Well, I mean, fucking... Is it any more ridiculous than Reagan becoming the bloody president,
Well, Arnie couldn't become president, could he? Because he wasn't born in the US of A.
He was born an American in order to become... Otherwise, he blatantly would become president.
Of course, that's why Obama should never have been allowed, isn't it? Because he was born in, I don't know, wherever. Crawley.
Yeah, something like that. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
So So actually, yes, this was 80 years before the Salem witch trials. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. But yeah, then it just goes on.
We make fashions in this country, Neil. We don't follow them.
Exactly. It's good to know we're ahead of the curve from that made up crimes. Although it sounds like I'm going to move to the wiki page now to talk about some of the other characters involved.
Okay.
So did she end up? Yeah. So one of the ones that was alleged as a witch and did in fact get accused and hanged as a result of the Pendle Witch hunt was an Alice Nutter.
Mm.
And they put a statue of her up in the for the 400th anniversary.
Right.
So, unlike many of those accused of witchcraft, she was a member of a wealthy family and who owned land in Pendle.
How do you do?
But she was accused of being present at the witch meeting on Good Friday and later on causing the death of Henry Milton. She was accused by the 9-year-old girl as well.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
She protested her innocence, although others pleaded guilty.
What is wrong with this kid?
Ironically, the 9-year-old kid was the one genuine witch. But they only found out 22 years later, and then she managed to
get off on a technicality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she'd used all the money that she'd got witching to hire some really, really good lawyers.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Shut it all down.
Yeah. If the broom don't fit, you have to acquit. Something like that.
Yeah. So I know what you're probably thinking, Chris. At this trial, if they have access to lawyers or right to call witnesses, they're probably going to be able to use their witchcraft to sway the trial. That wouldn't be fair, would it?
It wouldn't be fair, no.
But don't worry about it. The accused were denied access to lawyers or the right to call witnesses,
good.
so sorted that out. Good justice.
Yeah, if you don't want the trial to be unfair.
Yeah. So subsequently hanged at Gallows Hill. Yeah, and the other ones were Anne Whittle and
what kind of stuff did they get up to at Gallows Hill?
Well, yeah, they don't. There's not a lot of
just hanging. We've just got a hill that we hang people.
Yeah, just hang people there. Well, hence the name.
I'd hate to be hung, Neil.
If it's one of those ones where you just literally snatch your neck straight off.
Yeah, but it rarely does.
Well, there was
also I've got a really big, thick neck, like a pig or something.
Well, there was the guy Pierre Point, whatever his name was, the last hangman in Britain. Apparently, he was so expert he could always ensure that they would sort of die straight off. But I imagine with just like some bunch of village bumpkins, they were probably just slowly suffocating.
I say that about hanging. I think, to be honest, I'd hate to be put to death by the state in any form, really.
Yeah, I think execution full stop would be. Well, obviously it would be. Electrocution, I think, would be worse. Burning at the stake would definitely be worse.
Yeah.
Firing
squad, maybe.
Maybe.
Let's not go too deep into this.
Yeah.
And do you know what? After hearing this, I might have to tone down my witchering.
Well, yeah.
To be fair, kind of with how things are going in this country, I could see witch trials coming back in the next 3 or 4 years. If the Tories win the next election, then they'll start bringing back witch trials, that kind of stuff.
The amount of witches on benefits, Chris, is unbelievable.
I know. And they don't declare the money that they get for potions.
They cursed Johnson to make him lie about a load of stuff. He wanted to tell the truth, but he couldn't.
No. They were using poppets to get him to do stuff.
Yeah,
dirty lib witches.
Yeah. They just, took a bundle of straw and stuck some pins in it, and they was telling lies. So legacy of Alice Nutter. So in 1982, one of the members of the music group Chumbawamba. Remember them?
I get knocked down and I get up
Alice
again.
Nutter by Deepo. Yeah, that was the only kind of famous. They went for years before that, though.
They did, and that song was actually, they changed all the words to that. The original one was a song about, I get knocked down, I get up again, never keep you down. The original song and they changed the words, and then it got a charting, was a political song against Saddam Hussein, and it went, "Let's hunt him down and shoot him in the head," instead of "I get knocked down and get up again." I've heard the original. It's quite a different song.
Yeah, a lot of their stuff was very overtly political. Kind of like, very sort of strong, strident views.
Which seem quite mild now in comparison.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I'd heard somewhere that the lyrics they ended up doing, apparently they were watching some guy who lived in a flat next to them or something like that. He was like so pissed he just kept falling over, and he was like singing Danny Boy, and he just kept falling over and couldn't actually get into his place. Yeah. So
All been there.
All been there. And anyway, they've now put a statue of Alice
Chumbawamba.
In roughly. So she's change her name in Chumbawamba.
And they put a statue of Chumbawamba up.
Yeah, I imagine there's a statue of Chumbawamba in Bolton or wherever they come from.
I imagine there should be one in every town centre.
Yeah. There's a 1990 novel, Good Omens, by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. You may have heard of the TV version not that long ago.
I saw that, the TV version was on Amazon, wasn't it? With David Tennant and
Michael Sheen.
That's it. Yeah, it was okay.
It's all right.
Yeah.
There's an Agnes Nutter in that, and an Anathema Device is like her. I think she's like the modern descendant or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, Jeanette Woodson published a novella around this, to say for the 400th anniversary. So there's some
not people jumping on board.
Yeah, well, because it does. I mean, it does appear apparently around the time.
Let's get on the Nutter train.
There was a living. Well, exactly. There was a living to be made, either pretending to be a witch or accusing others of being a witch. According to the wiki page.
Well, I can. Yeah, so I can see how both sides would play that. So if you're pretending to be a witch, people would give you some money to curse other people or whatever, or perhaps for love potions or that kind of shit. And presumably, if you accuse someone of being a witch and it went through trial, you might have got a bit of money from like the witch finders. We might have got some of the dead person's stuff.
Yeah.
Good system.
But I get the impression that they were there was a bit of beef between these two families as well. Anyway, because so just to clarify for me, but were both were both families accused of being witches? Yeah, there was a mixture of
each other,
and so I think the 9-year-old kind of like is the one that gets the thing, but they basically kind of like, I think so.
Just had beef and mudslinging.
The wiki bit. So Alison confesses, and then her brother said that she's confessed to bewitching a local child. So
it's tit for tat.
Yeah. So when questioned about Anne Whittle, the matriarch of the other family, reputedly involved in witchcraft in and around Pendle, that may have seen it as an opportunity for revenge.
Yeah.
So they reckon there was bad blood between the two families. I'm quite a forgiving person, but you can imagine if 10 people had been hung for fuck all, like a lot of them were members of your family, you could. I can see how you might have a thirst for revenge that need to be slaked. Well, this is what led up to this sort of like the 10 being killed, because it was members of both families. They got accused and hung.
Right.
Apparently, so they're basically accused.
No one wins
in the trial. Exactly, prisoner's dilemma. But apparently, it might date from in 1601. A member of Chetham's family broke into Malkin Tower, which is the cottage where the device lived. Why they call it Malkin Tower, who knows? And stole goods worth £1, which is around 115 quid these days. People say
like a PlayStation or something.
Yeah. So
on the second, on the black market now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've been fencing goods for you for a long time. You know what I'm talking about.
You see a window open, sometimes you've got to nick in and see, free walking around money.
Exactly.
That's my cash machine.
It's basically asking for it.
Yeah, so Alison accused Shattuck's of murdering 4 men by witchcraft. So she'd claimed that her father had been so frightened of old Shattuck's that he'd agreed to give her £8 of oatmeal each year in return for her promise not to hurt his family. He handed the meal over annually until the year of his death.
So like a protection racket.
Yeah, exactly. So, because you're going to have a bunch of people there.
There's nothing new, is there? Like all of this, it's like the mafia or whatever do, or whoever, like whatever mobs doing protection rackets. It's been going on since the dawn of time, by the sounds of it.
So it almost looks here like it's just basically.
Be a shame if the tower burnt down, wouldn't it, Governor?
It'd be a shame if the devil came and possessed you during the night and ate all your kids, wouldn't it? I'd hate to see that happen.
Oh dear. Maybe I could help you out.
If I had a few pins and I don't know, £8 of oatmeal a year, so I wasn't so hungry, I could probably do something for you, dearie.
Which is about £1,000 worth of oatmeal, isn't it?
Yeah. I presume that's not the way. It's the
Yeah.
It's not a lot actually. £8 of oatmeal a year. She's not going to get. She's not going to get a lot of feed out of that.
Well, it's £1,000 worth.
No, it's not monetary value. Like literally £8, as in
3.5
kilos.
No, that's not enough.
That's what it says here.
£8 as in LBS rather than really.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
He wouldn't have been that frightened, or he didn't have a lot of oatmeal himself.
Yeah, have it. Do you know what I mean? Like that's nothing. I'm an oat farmer, mate.
Yeah. So that's strange, but there you go. Nothing makes sense in any of this, Chris.
Just a really derisory amount. It's like just a power play.
Yeah.
It's like going up to someone and going, "I'll tell you what, I'll protect you. Because otherwise some terrible things will happen. Oh no, right? Oh God, how much do you want? I'll have £15 a year, thanks." Do you know what I mean?
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, fine. There you go.
Yeah.
Can I pay you monthly? £1 a month?
No, you must do it every year in total. Well, fair enough. It's basically a week's worth of oatmeal for me. So
yeah, it's fine, mate.
Go without that week.
I mean, you could, to be honest, you could have just asked if you're doing like that badly that you need it. Like just ask. It's fine. Don't be embarrassed. You don't have to threaten to curse. Don't have to threaten to have the devil come in and kill me up. Like if you're that down, if you're that on your uppers, then that's fine. Like I'm happy to share. So
that's kind of like so it does seem like basically a couple of like minor criminal families who are kind of feuding, and there probably was a bit of either. Well, I mean, it sounds in a way because some of them did actually plead guilty and do seem to have believed. I think some of them might have actually think that they were in league with the devil and could curse people. I'm not quite sure what was going on. So it's quite often you see with these things, it'll be just like somebody who's all
that delicious ergot which was on the oats that he was handing out.
This is quite trippy oats.
I can fly.
You have more than £8 of that a year, you're going to start believing more than fucking witches. So I think it's just like they could have been sort of small talk rather than just being like like natural healers and things like that, and know about properties of herbs and sort of like get accused because they live by themselves of being witches. It feels like they're more kind of like a couple of criminal families.
Be nice to animals rather than torturing them.
Yeah, exactly.
Witch.
So, guilty of something, Chris? Well, some of them were anyway. I think, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how, it doesn't really explain how, for example, Alice Nutter gets involved with these people.
Well, apparently she was at the meeting.
Yeah, well, she was at that meeting when they were getting pissed and threatening to sort of, but how she became friends, like the fact that she owns, because you imagine they're like small-time beggars.
Slumming it, wouldn't she?
Yeah, she just enjoyed hanging out with them.
Or just wanted to go and get pissed. I mean, there's fuck all to do. So, they're all having a party.
Yeah.
Invite you along, why not?
Come along, nothing better to do.
Little did she know.
Yeah,
wrong place, wrong time now.
So just talk a bit more about the legacy then. So yeah. Yeah, because it says here, historian John Swain has said that outbreaks of witchcraft in and around Pendle demonstrate the extent to which people could make a living either by posing as a witch or by accusing and threatening to accuse others of being a witch.
Witch!
It could have been a trade like any other, albeit with significant risks.
Yeah.
Albeit, it's implicit in much of literature on witchcraft that the accused were victims, often mentally or physically abnormal. But for some, it is just like a trade. And it's like making a living from healing, begging, and extortion.
Yeah.
But now,
tough times, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, absolutely. If you've got, a farm or whatever, or you've got nothing, you've got to do what you got to do to survive, I guess.
Yeah, and there wasn't really, if you had some knowledge of like herbal medicine, then that would have been a very useful thing for. It's not like they could have popped down the hospital. Do you know what I mean? Like it would have been a very useful skill to have.
Oh, undoubtedly, yeah.
And I think there's probably some jealousy involved in that as well.
Could well be, yeah.
And, there are people living an alternative lifestyle.
Oh, yeah, people won't like that.
Don't like it.
Don't like somebody doing something that they might like to do themselves. Just looking at the... There was something else on here. What was on? Oh yeah, and this is the other thing. So, sorry, let me just get an article from the Lancashire Telegraph. So, in case you were thinking it was an unfair trial, Chris, well, I'll have you know.
Oh, it wasn't. No, I think they dotted all the I's and crossed the T's.
Well, indeed they did, because the government in 1997, Home Secretary Jack Straw, decided that the convictions of 10 women and one of their sons for Satanism in 1612 should stand.
Good.
Pendle MP Gordon Prentice said tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime, including witchcraft. Pendle MP Gordon Prentice and his constituent Jim
If you want
Skinner,
a witch as a neighbour, vote Labour.
Yeah. Coalition of chaos.
We can't go on like this.
A bunch of witches driving.
It just shows you like what a weird position Labour were in for the brief halcyon days that they were in charge, where Jack Straw has to kind of uphold the trials of some witches from 400 years previously, just in case the Daily Mail start a campaign saying that he's soft on crime.
Entirely possible. Well, here's what they said. So Mr. Straw's deputy, Alan Michael, told Mr. Prentice, as one of his last actions between taking over as Welsh Secretary, there's no case for the pardon. He said the Pendle Witches were apparently convicted according to the law of the time, harsh though it seems by modern standards. Mm-hmm. And as I've indicated, the Home Secretary would generally consider intervening in a case only if new evidence came to light and showed conclusively they didn't commit the crime which they were charged. On the basis of the material we have seen, the Pendle Witches case does not appear to be one where it would be appropriate to recommend a posthumous free pardon.
I mean, he could have also just said, we're not going into this. It was 400 years ago. We've actually got a country to run.
Yeah, that would be another way of dealing with that. It was raised by an MP, so I think it got parliamentary time. So there you go. So held up in 1997.
Trying to raise his profile with nonsense.
Almost certainly. Why didn't do it on the 400th anniversary? I don't know. Might have more luck. But there you go. He's probably a Tory, so back in by that point. So it's influenced quite a lot of literature. Obviously, there's a big anniversary, 400 years after the thing. It's it sounds very much like our own Salem witch trials in a way.
We did a lot of witch burning though for a while, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't know how much. I mean, the whole bit of the stake thing actually happened. I think that was more of a heretics in
Catholic
Spain,
thing,
really. Yeah, I don't. I mean, there was.
We did do a fair bit of burning.
There was actually. No, I say that, but actually, there was for heretics. There was a fair bit of burning. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been around sort of Elizabethan kind of Queen.
Burn the slightly different interpretation of the same text out of them. That's what I say.
Yeah. Fucking heretic. Some of the things are so obscure that literally, nobody really knows the difference unless they've studied divinity for like 10 years. Anyway.
And even then, it's your interpretation.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no right and wrong answer.
Well, sounds like somebody needs a good burning to get themselves along.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So there you go, Chris.
I'm asking for it.
That's kind of it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I thought it was a bit of an interesting one because, they've been convicted. They've been retried in 97. It all seems to have been done according to the law.
I can imagine them sort of going, yeah, all right, I'll have a look through the case, and then just like picking up the file and then just letting it fall out of his hands. All right, yeah, no, we're not retrying this. To be honest, we're a bit busy trying to put through some sort of rules around hate speech and that kind of stuff, which is probably a bit more important. Cool. All right, Neil. So should we go through our scoring system?
Yes.
So, Neil, spookiness. What do you reckon? Hit me with your rhythm stick.
I think it's kind of like it's quite spooky. I think at this time, then and there's quite a lot of religious fervour around the country at this point. You are people, because I think the witch laws actually came in with Elizabeth I, which would have been about 20 or 30 years before. So people would have believed in this stuff, and I think you would, if someone cursed you, and then you
it was a hot button issue.
You would find it quite spooky. If somebody beat me for some pins and I was feeling a bit, not giving you some free pens for whatever reason, and he cursed me and I had a stroke. That would make me think twice.
Get your own pins.
Yeah,
I've got to sell these.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and find pins and you away. Yeah. Anyway, I think it is quite. It's quite spooky. Other elements in terms of basically how everyone just turns on one another. But I don't really believe that they were real sort of witches, obviously, because witches don't exist. It's. I think at the time, you probably would have found it quite spooky. So I'm going to give it a 6.
6, okay. I think it's a shame that the coincidence happened of which kind of spirals everything out of control, of someone going, oh, can I have some pins? No, these are my pins, fuck off. And you go, curse you. And then a few minutes later, the person has a stroke, right? I think and then everything kind of snowballs from there.
Incident, yeah.
I believe that perhaps they were witches to the extent that they possibly lived a different lifestyle and weren't necessarily very Christian, and also were medicine women. I think that's possible. And I can imagine that maybe they did curse people and stuff. I don't, kind of.
Yeah, they might have believed they had some powers.
Yeah, they might have believed it. But I think sort of the overall sort of the overall feeling at that time, that kind of, you'd be walking on eggshells all the time and not sure if you're going to be called witch. I think that's quite a spooky time, because if that happens, the outcome's pretty dire for you. So I'm going to give it 7, Neil.
Cool.
So believability, well, it all definitely happened. So it's very believable. Do I believe they were witches, as in green faces, Macbethian style witches? No, I don't. Do I believe that they were people who lived outside of what was considered the normal society at the time and very Christian, all that kind of stuff? Yes, I do. It's very believable. The only thing which is going to knock some points off is that, I don't know. I mean, it depends what your definition of a witch is, really.
Yeah.
Do I think that their curses worked? No. But the rest of it, yeah, it all happened. So I'm giving it a 9, Neil.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to go with an 8 for sort of similar reasons. I think it doesn't quite go there because, I don't believe that they had curses and the witches and all the rest of it. But as you say, I suspect the people at the time, they documented it as well as they could, and actually, to the extent that even some of the people seem to believe themselves to actually be witches, according to the accounts, and probably thought they did have some sort of power. And these do seem to be, as I say, quite often you see in these cases, it will be just like some woman living on her own who's, just like, have some healing arts, whatever. They feel more like, I mean, not all of them maybe, I don't know, but more like kind of like a couple of small-time criminal families or something, and just kind of doing a bit of an extortion racket, but they might have believed they had some powers. I mean, you see a lot of that around that time because of all of the the push-pull between Catholicism and Protestantism, and you've gone back and forth a bit with Mary and then Elizabeth, and just had the Reformation.
Well, and with the old school beliefs, which you would still have in the countryside.
No, absolutely, and a lot of people would have stuck to their Catholic things, but then being told that that's actually kind of completely irreligious, it would have been a confusing time. And there's a lot when you read about kind of around Henry VIII, they were kind of like even the church would get involved with there'd be like some holy woman, it would just be like some probably some lady afflicted with mental illness, but she believed through some kind of saint or had holy powers or whatever, and they would prophesy the king's demise or something and get into sorts of trouble. I remember reading a couple of accounts of that in Henry VIII's history, and I think everyone around the time, even the king, they would have been quite shitting themselves up about this kind of stuff. They would have believed in that. An 8 for me, just struck down by the fact that
cool.
They don't believe that the curses were real.
So Neil, reach.
So probably not huge on this one, I guess. I mean, the big thing for me is the fact that it's still around after 400 years, and people still think, Pendle Hill, there's this kind of got this. I mean, I imagine it's just like a nice scenic area, and it just inspires all of that kind of thing. It hasn't been overdeveloped, but I can't imagine it's one that's known about massively around the rest of the world. Maybe some people in Salem do, but I think it's more of a UK thing. I forgot to mention, actually, Chris, they have like some buses in the local towns now on the Pendle route. They have the Witches Way route, and then they put a little cartoon witch on the bus and things like that. It's a nice way to celebrate your history, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look, we hung 10 people who are probably innocent.
For nothing, yeah.
But there you go. These things all get turned into a bit of a cartoon. So, So length of time wise, I think it has to bump it up a little bit, but I doubt it's known very well outside the UK. So I'm going to give it a 5.
5. Yeah. So I hadn't heard of this one. I knew I know vaguely about sort of the witches, that kind of period where people were being hung and burnt and all that kind of stuff. But I hadn't heard of this one in particular. There's been lots of books and stuff about it, and probably the most famous one is the Terry Pratchett Omen one, because that was a TV series with 2 good actors in it. But if you watch that, you wouldn't have any idea about. You'd have to go and research to find out about this story.
So they just used the name; it wasn't really based on.
So I don't think it's got a very high reach, not even across the UK, really. But it's old. So for that, I'm going to give it a 4.
Cool.
So narrative / premise. Well, again, like this, the narrative's all there. It's actually kind of recorded, and it was, stuff that was done, and there's legal documents about it. It's difficult. It's difficult because it's not like a fantastic, fabulous story. It's actually just like this shit happened. I guess it's got the kind of 2 warring families, that child who was induced to point the finger for, whether that was the child being a prick, or whether the child was offered something, or whether the child was basically bullied into doing it. All three could be the case. But it's gone on. People still talk about it, and it has been used for novellas and stuff. So there's obviously something there. So I'm going to give it a 4. Neil.
I think it'd be a bit higher for me, because I think it's quite a rich, one of those, truth is stranger than fiction stories. I think there's quite a lot of elements in that. As you say, it is all kind of laid out, and I don't know how much you build on it, but the fact that, 400th anniversary, some quite famous authors wrote, short stories or novellas or whatever on those, and, it's inspired quite a bit of that kind of thing. I think there is quite rich. So again, I think, the what's quite interesting here, and it's fascinating to me that this is 80 years before the Salem witch trials as well, because we've all heard of those, but it's not so well publicised. But the fact that there's the feuding between the 2 families, they were threatening to sort of blow up the. I think let's put it this way: Michael Bay could make a good movie out of this if he wanted to. So, if you wanted Transformers to go somewhere else in history, I'd go Pendle circa 1612. Michael. Be my advice. So I'm going for that reason. I'm going to give it a 7.
7. Okay, and that gives us an overall score of 50. So pretty high.
Not too bad.
Not too shabby at all. So if you are or know any witches, please feel free to get in contact at herb.legends.podcast@gmail.com.
I've met a Wiccan.
Have you?
I have, yeah. Tiger, it's called.
Really? Was that a uni? Or just in Brighton?
It would have been around, just in Brighton, basically. Yeah. It was around uni time, but yeah.
Yeah? Did you pay them for any curses?
Well, no, but what they did there, and this is quite
did they do white magic?
Well, we went to a party with them, and they were kind of, everyone was a bit kind of mildly insufferable, but actually they'd invited this bard along, so he took a load of wood to go and have a fire on Brighton Beach. A bard? Yeah. So he's a Scottish guy, so it's like, well, the tradition is you pay them a meal and then they'll sing you songs.
Right.
And anyway, so we're down Rubbish, but this guy was awesome, actually. He's kind of like, he's like, rather than a meal, he's like, no, I'll just have 4 tenants, thanks.
I'll have 4 tenants, thank you.
And then sang a load of really cool folk music. I'd love to actually remember what those songs he sang were, because actually, he was a good guitarist, and he, sang a load of like folk stuff I'd never heard of, but it was kind of cool. So he was really sound. He was like no pretense about him at all. He wasn't like, oh wow, I'm putting on a bit of a, because everyone else was like a bit, just finding themselves, but a bit kind of like Amdram kind of thing going on. But he was just like, no bullshit. It's like, I'm a bard.
It's very hit
some booze and I'll sing you some songs.
It's very hit and miss, the old guitarists / fire on Brighton Beach. Very hit and miss. I mean,
you would assume that would have gone very, very badly. And that was what was quite funny about the evening. It was like, fuck no, this guy's really good, actually.
So, because generally what you get is, it's weird, because if you have a bonfire on the beach in Brighton, sort of at like 2 a.m. or something, always. I mean, I think they must just...
Someone's coming up asking to share it.
Someone's coming... but someone with a guitar.
Probably on drugs, or someone with a guitar.
I think they must just like come out and then just walk up and down the seafront with a guitar.
Looking
and then
for anyone who they can pull. Yeah.
Anyone who will listen. And then the thing about it is they always start playing a song and they play like maybe the first verse and chorus and then stop. It's like...
Which I think was very much like, when we were in a band, like Northern Irish pubs in North London, very much our bonfires, Chris.
Very much our bonfires,
hunted up and down in Camden.
But we finished the songs. That's the thing. We didn't like play.
We wrote our own songs and played.
We wrote our own and started, middled, and finished them, rather than sort of start doing like, I don't know, a Paolo Nutini song and then stopping after one verse and one chorus. It's like, either play the song or fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Get away from my fire. Cool. All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that, and we will see you next week. If if like us, you're in what is potentially going to be the hottest ever temperatures recorded in the UK, then drink lots of water and wear a nice white floppy hat. Goodbye.
Goodbye.